Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Good afternoon. Yes. Dr. Bates, we are grateful for your leadership of the Howard Thurman Center for Common Ground, which for nearly 40 years has been one of Boston University's jewels. The center is the university's cultural hub, an inclusive space that encourages young people to step outside of their comfort zone and to build relationships to share their experiences with others. And this is what we do at universities. We bring people from all over the world, from all walks of life, and we form community and lifelong relationships. Thank you, too, for hosting today's event. This is the perfect venue to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who famously called Howard Thurman a mentor and a friend. Certainly, Dr. Thurman had a significant influence on Dr. King and the path towards justice that he chose to follow throughout life. I want to thank Mayor Wu and her team and the City of Boston, the Dean of Students' Office, Government and Community Affairs, and the BU Library Special Collections for the co-sponsorship of today's celebration. We are honored to call the City of Boston our home and to work closely with Mayor Wu and her team on issues of peace and prosperity and find ways to make our communities safer, healthier, more sustainable, more affordable, and more accessible to everyone. These goals that we share are not so different from the ones that Dr. King fought so hard for. Thank you to today's speakers, the incomparable writer and poet, Cole Arthur Riley. Shugun Idowu, Chief of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion for the City of Boston, and Associate Professor of New Testament at Boston University School of Theology, Dr. Shively T.J. Smith. Thank you to our student participants, Maria Elena Suazo Rosario and Bermina Cherry. And thank you as well to the Hamilton Garrett Youth Choir, who will end today's program with a performance. As you heard, today's theme is The Darkness at Midnight, which takes inspiration from Dr. King's speech, A Knock at Midnight. I'd like you, for a moment, to imagine yourself in a pew at Mount Zion Baptist Church. I invite you to close your eyes if it feels right for you to do so. It is February 11th, 1962, one of the several times Dr. King is reported to have given this talk. And he has just taken his place in the pulpit. And as you imagine yourself seated in the church among the parishioners, perhaps you have invited friends to come with you. You hear the melodic baritone and building cadence of Dr. King's voice as he begins his exegesis on the Gospel of Luke. I come this morning to try to preach, he begins, and I would like for all others, men and women alike, to think with me from the subject, A Knock at Midnight. Dr. King goes on to tell the parable of a man who, in his time of need, goes to his neighbor to seek bread because he is hungry. And the man's knock, made at midnight, his knocks go unanswered, and the man is left alone. He is hungry, perhaps without hope, and certainly surrounded by darkness. And as you, along with Dr. King, feel the cold that has enveloped the man in Luke's scripture, I also invite you to place yourself in the historical context of King's speech as best you can. As King continues to speak, you begin to hear him talk about a society in a moral, spiritual, and psychological state of chaos. We are experiencing a darkness so deep that we can hardly see which way to turn, he says. And later he laments, the great problem of mankind today is still, there is too much hatred around. The year was 1962, and he has taken the pulpit during the heart of the civil rights movement. It is less than a year following the Freedom Rides and a few months prior to the integration of the University of Mississippi. I personally can relate to this year. It is just 1 year after my mother, Dorothy Butler Gilliam, became the first Black woman to work as a reporter for the Washington Post. And it was a good thing they hired her, because she was able to go to Mississippi and cover the integration of Old Miss, and to meet with families and people throughout the Black community to tell a story that otherwise the Washington Post readers would not have heard. And so while King preached of darkness, there was already light. I invite you now to let that hard sentiment stay with you and return back to 2025. Open your eyes if they were closed and look around at where you find yourself today, back in Metcalf Hall in the George Sherman Union. What do you see? A room filled, not with darkness, but with love and concern and caring. A room full of people from all walks of life and backgrounds and beliefs who are sitting here in community. Now, I'm not a theologian, but King talked about the other side of the dirty shade of gray, and that is midnight in the moral order for King. That is the dawning of a new morning. So let me tell you something. I woke up this morning and it was dark outside, and the realities of the day and the moment we find ourselves in started to rush in. And then the sun rose, and it was a beautiful morning. Yes, there are wildfires, there are wars, there are unhoused people, there is poverty, but there is also great beauty. Let me tell you about yesterday. Yesterday, I was greeted by the staff and faculty of Boston University's Wheelock College of Education. And they taught me about their long, long history of deaf education and scholarship. They taught me about the tradition of giving a sign name so one does not have to spell out all of the individual letters of a name within the deaf community. But it is also to signify belonging to this distinct and special community. And I was invited into the deaf community, and I was given a sign name. So yes, Dr. King, there is too much hatred, but there is so much love. And while it is dark at midnight, I am already standing in the light. Dr. King, of course, largely found his own solace and a right path forward through Scripture. And at Boston University, we can look to our history, to our founding values, and to the words of leaders who have come before us to understand this light. Our founding president, William Fairfield Warren, called the university a society, realizing the highest known ideals in individual and social character and life, and of propagating these ideals from one generation to another and from one land to another, so long as the world shall stand, end quote. I love this quotation for its aspiration. It sets a high standard for us to reach for, and historically, the people of Boston University and this institution have aimed high, and at times, we have achieved greatness. From its beginning, Boston University has championed a diversity of backgrounds, identities, experiences, and perspectives, which is essential to learning. We have championed free speech and listening to ideas and viewpoints, even if we disagree. And knowing more about others who are different from us and hearing genuine, real perspectives that are new to us are both so important to putting the chaos of misinformation and hate at bay. There is nothing more beautiful or more profound than learning to love and overcoming hate. King came here to Boston University because he saw these values reflected in the people and the scholarship of our institution. Dr. King and his mentor, Dean Thurman, both believed that a common humanity could bind us together despite our differences. And yet, how do we build this sense of trust? How do we find our common humanity? In my mind, there is no better way than through service. In 1957, in Montgomery, Alabama, Dr. King famously called life's most persistent and urgent question, "What are you doing for others?" In one of his final sermons before his death, King said from the pulpit of his beloved Ebenezer Baptist Church, "If you want to be important, wonderful. If you want to be recognized, wonderful. If you want to be great, wonderful. But recognize that he who is greatest among you shall be your servant." That's a new definition of greatness. By giving that definition of greatness, it means that everybody can be great because everybody can serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love, and you can be that servant. One reason that I am so filled with joy is that I can serve others. I did this first as a physician, a scholar, and an educator, and now as the leader of this university. And I know that you all in this room, from Boston University, from Mayor Wu's office in the city of Boston, and others here celebrating the legacy of this incredible man, we share this vision of service as the highest ideal for us to aspire to. At Boston University, this is in our mission statement. It says, "We are committed to generating new knowledge to benefit society, and that higher education should be conducted in the service of the wider community, local and international." And I'll end by saying that as I look around the room today, I see all kinds of people devoted to service, public servants, educators, students who volunteer in their communities, staff members who work tirelessly to keep our students safe and to ensure that they have what they need from their college experience to feed us this food that we enjoyed this morning. Yes, Dr. King, there is too much hate in this world. But that will always be true because one iota of hate is too much hate. But oh, my friends, there is so much love. Let us face the challenges of today together. Let us face this new morning together, and let us continue to serve others. We are bounded by our commitment to make a difference in the world. Thank you.